Hello everyone and welcome back to the Capital Traders channel. Now in this video I will be going over the crypto market. I'll be breaking down our top 3 cryptos, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. Those are the 3 main cryptos that we cover. But in this video I'll briefly be going over the 2 scenarios I see playing out, as well as the current state of the market and what we can potentially see playing out in the coming weeks and months. So why don't we go ahead and get started. Now, if you go and watch the first video that was ever posted on this channel, it was in March in 2021. And that is when we called this accumulation. We were anticipating a break of this new high, and we were anticipating a new all-time high, which played out to absolute perfection, right? If you can go out and check that out for yourselves. And then in essence, what we saw after these highs were liquidated at the top, we saw price come back and correct itself to a major pivotal point in price where it came up, broke a previous structure point, then mitigated, and now is in essence chopping now. So I'm gonna go ahead and show, move everything out so you guys can see what the charts look like now. Now price has come back into a very pivotal point on the lower time frames, right? It's come into what we refer to as a fake out zone. Now within this zone there were plenty of shorting opportunities that me and the team were able to capitalize off, but now prices come right into into the midsection of our fake out zone. Okay, and the reason this is our fake out zone is basically because liquidity was taken from this level, as well as orders being taken from this level. So there's a lot of volume trapped within this level. Okay, that's why we refer to it as the fake out zone. Is also a level where liquidity is induced into the market, which is another concept altogether. But briefly, if I go over on lower time frames, what you're going to see is momentum slowing down within this level. Okay, now there's 2 scenarios which I potentially see playing out in the intraday levels, right? I see price continue on shortly higher, staying within this level, right? We may see just a little peak just above this level to take out any stop losses here, and then we could see a quick little meltdown back to the 30Ks region, right? That's one scenario. However, I've stated this before as well. If we break this level, right? If we break this level very clearly, right? If we break this fake out zone very clearly, then I am bullish on BTC. Okay, and now that is mainly because there is significant bearish structure here on the left, right, where a lot of bearish orders were taken in, right, and order flow was also in the market on lower time frames. So if we break this level here, about the 47K level, then I am very bullish on BTC, and I've highlighted it here as well because it is a very clear structural zone. Okay, it's very important, and the main reason for this is because there was a lot of sell orders taken at these levels, and they were taken out right at this point here. This candle took all that structure, all that selling momentum out, right, and then caused the real momentum was then created, which allowed price to break down. So if we break this level altogether, this pivotal point here, then it is very clear indication that only bulls are in charge, and we're good to go for continuation in price to the next highs. Okay. However, if that is not the scenario that plays out, right, and price, let's go back here, and price continuously slows down, then we are very good to go for shorts from this level, right, from the midline of this level, just above the high, right. You could keep it a little bit above just to avoid any stop hunts, to come back down to take care of all liquidity from these levels. That is what I'm anticipating. We could even potentially see price come right back down to the 32K level, which gives us a much higher RR stop hunt position. I mean, so that is the scenario I'm looking at BTC for now. There's 2 very clear scenarios. If I see lower time frame confirmations from the fake out zone with momentum slowing down and liquidity hunted from these zones, then we are then we're in for a very high probability short back down to the 30k levels. Okay, however, we break that level, right? We break that structural zone level, then we are all good to go for shorts. And if we break this level, I don't recommend buying at these those zones, because price will always, if that is the scenario that is to play, then price will always correct itself, and when it does, that's the ideal point on price you want to start buying at. Okay, you don't want to buy in when price is pumping. You're not make much money. You always diminish your returns while increasing your risk, which is something you never want to do. So that is BTC plain and simple. Now what I will do is go on the higher time frames, right? Because this monthly closing here is very, very important for BTC. Okay, because you have to remember, there is a scenario where I do see an all-time high playing out, and I'm going to explain it here. Okay, now this was a zone where accumulation took place. Okay, this was a pivotal structure point where all that volume was derived from. It was also the point where it took this high here, right, where it created an all-time high. Given price did come right back down to correct itself and also mitigate this structure point, which has been bullish so far, at least on the lower time frame. However, it's still choppy. Okay. Now, this is the scenario that I'm potentially seeing play out. Okay, what I'm potentially seeing is a three top or distribution scenario playing out on the weekly, and in this scenario, what I'm potentially anticipating is a new all-time high coming up, being taken, right, and that could be in anywhere from the 70 to the 80 to maybe even 100k region per BTC, and then we see price right back down, right, to the lows, right, something like that. Okay, sorry, let's do that one again, right? What I'm really anticipating is price to come up higher, take that liquidity, and then come up, because you'll see the same scenario sort of play out here on the left, right? You see these three tops here. This is clear-cut wick-off distribution where you have ST, UTAD or spring, and then you see that clear-cut bearish, heavy bearish momentum come in. And initially, what I'm anticipating is that we could potentially see that before we see a real bear market. Now, the reason I say that is because this bear market, if we don't see a top now and price just goes continuously down, we have seen a very different bear market than we've always seen before. Because when you see, just before you see a bear market come in, especially on BTC or as crypto as a whole, you have a lot more euphoria in the market, a lot more fear of missing out, right? And we haven't seen just that just yet. Okay, now you could argue, oh, we did see a lot of hype and buying pressure here, but not to the levels we saw in 2017. So for that reason, that is why I am keeping an eye on that potential zone where we could see price come up into our highs up here, where we could see a potential final top before price starts the bear market, at least into where I'm anticipating the 20k region at least, where we could potentially even come back to the 9 to 10k region, okay, which is the complete lows, of course. Now I know those who say, oh, BTC will never hit those prices, but never say never, especially when it comes to crypto. You'll see it all. So yeah, that is initially what I'm potentially seeing play out on BTC, as at least in the long term. Again, this is very speculative until we have any confirmations, and at least until our structure points play, because we could just see another chop down here and price could continuously chop. Again, I've mentioned this before, if we see that chop continuously at this level, right, then that is also a good indication of price is ready to accumulate again to create this potential scenario. On the other hand, if we come down from this level, right, the fake out zone which I've mentioned here, right, if we just slow down, come right above, create a bull trap, clear all that, hit those selling SLs, and then dump right below, then we can see a very quick flash crash down to the 20k region, which is also a possibility. So we have to keep all possibilities outlined, and then once we see confirmations, we can balance out the probabilities. That's the job of being an investor, okay? Balancing out the probabilities, because anything's possible. You never want to hinder out any possibilities or probabilities, especially in price action. So that was BTC. ETH is pretty much the same, but what I will do is quickly go over XRP, because I do get a lot of DMs about this. XRP has been very interesting. It's been very slow in hindsight, like extremely slow. On the high time frames, we do have this slower trend, and we've broken out of this trend where we have been buying. We bought from here. We shared it for free on our Instagram. If you guys haven't already, you can follow that in our link in the description below. But that's where we initially bought XRP. It was a short-term trade, and then we took profit, and along we've been buying across scaling in. And the reason I've been buying taking buy orders on XRP, these are trades by the way, is mainly because we had liquidity here, and now that liquidity has been cleared, I'm anticipating another mitigation come up higher before we see any potential moves up. But momentum is very slow on XRP, and usually what price action dictates is when price is slowing down, slower and slower, it's indicating that sellers are becoming weaker and weaker. Buyers are becoming weaker and weaker, and eventually the real selling momentum is going to enter the market, in which case will cause a correction, right? And remember, bearish or selling momentum is always quicker than the buying, okay? That's just how the markets operate. So you do have to keep that in mind as well. So that is potentially what I'm anticipating for XRP, at least a smaller correction before we come to take these potential highs. At least that's what we're looking to target. We want to break the 92-cent region if we are going to come any higher in price, to target the $1.20 region above here, right, which is my swing target on XRP, right, to potentially mitigate this level here, because there's also some liquidity left above here, which I believe we will clear at some point, and this is the $1.23 region. Now there is a potential scenario that I've highlighted on XRP, which I will highlight here. Now XRP has been very slow, as I mentioned, but in essence price has been very slowly squeezing. We broke out those highs in about March, April, right, last year. And then we saw that correction again in July, where we saw price come up, mitigate those levels, and come right back down to our lows, right, in our March, Feb lows. But what I've done here is I've, in essence, did a bar for bar replay of the same price action we saw in March and April, before we saw that big bullish momentum in XRP, sorry, which pumped about. From there was about 200-300%. Now we're seeing that same sort of price action play out again on XRP, again with the time frames very closely aligned, where we're in Feb, March, and then April is just around the corner, right? If I go on the lower time frames, you'll see this scenario play out a little better. We're seeing the same sort of price action, and price come up, comes right back down, mitigate that level before springs right back up, and very slowly creaking up before we see a very big momentum in price. And that price action is just here on the left, okay? I'll highlight it like this so you guys can see it. It's right here, right? Where we see that creaking price, pushes up, comes right back down, quickly comes right back up, and then slowly starts creaking up before we see that big push up in price. Again, this is very speculative, but I am just highlighting a scenario that I've seen in price, looking at the same sort of time scenario that we were before that big push came in. Because just before that pump took place, it was about the 3rd of April. Right, and that is just around the corner, because if you look, it was 30th of March, and then the 2nd, 3rd, 4th of April is where it took off, and we're very closely aligned in terms of time frame. Is where today's the 27th of March, 28, 29, 30, and the 4th, I believe, is next week. Wednesday, I believe. But yeah, so that is just something I've highlighted in terms of, you know, straight price action. And if we do see the same scenario play out, then we could potentially take out the all-time highs, right? Again, this is very speculative. We will need to see how BTC plays with the scenario that I've highlighted of the current fake out zone on BTC on the left. So just do it here. So yeah, so that's just a highlight, the zone we need to really keep an eye on. But with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll catch you on the next one. If you do want to join any of our services, you'll find the link down in the description down below. And if you do have any question, you can send us a DM or a message. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. It will help the channel a lot.